Okay, welcome back to the Career Ready Great Dane podcast. It's a podcast out of the Career and Professional Development Office at the University at Albany, and I'm Jessica. And I have two special guests here, and I will let them introduce themselves.
Okay, my name is Jermaine Harris. I serve as Associate Director for Career and Professional Development Office. Hi, happy to meet everyone.
Hi, everybody. I'm Shaun Johnson. I'm an MBA first-year student. Happy to be on the podcast.
Yes, thank you for being here. And to give some context, today's episode is around career fairs and their part in professional development, meeting with employers, and just having that one-on-one time to network. So I want to start this off with Jermaine. For students who have never attended a career fair, can you just describe what it's like?
Oh, man. For a lot of students, it depends on their class year. So if you're a first-year student, a second-year student, a lot of times it's a networking opportunity for you to kind of get a feel for what's out there for you to meet and see what opportunities are really of interest to what you're majoring in or even what you're passionate about. So you just want to start those conversations early and figure out where you go from here. Now, if you're a grad student, junior, senior, for you is finding an internship, for what you've been majoring in and figuring out what experience you need to take you to that next level as far as that career after graduation, or even that internship that will take you to the next level for that career you've been thinking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Shaun, describe your experience attending our career fairs.
I would say it's pretty intimidating because, usually, I'm coming out of class and I got things to do. So I'm like, oh, yeah, the career, I'm dressed up. Sometimes if you're in class, you're you may be the only few people that's actually dressed up. So it's that awkwardness. And now you're like, all right, let me go in here. Did I go at the right time? And now it's so crowded. And you're like, all right, where do I start? And, and stuff like that. So it takes a moment. You just got to kind of breathe and find your niche or one company you want to start to talk to and just work your way around the room and just try to be yourself. That's what I usually try to do.
Okay. And how many employers are usually at this fair?
Roughly there's about 50 employers at the fair, and we make it smaller than what we typically did in the past because we had over 150 employers. And like Shaun was saying, it can be very overwhelming. It was overwhelming for me. I'm just if I was a student and I'm coming to this, I'm like, who do I talk to first?
Sure.
So making it industry focus was a strategic plan to make it more accessible and take away some of those nervousness that students may have when trying to go to a fair and speak to an employer, which is why we create the program, a cheat sheet to help them realize, hey, this employer is hiring for this. These are the class years they're thinking about. These are some of the majors. It might be something with all majors. So that way you can have a conversation with them about it. And it could be organic because you already know what they're hiring for. So you could talk about that opportunity, or you can start the conversation and ask them questions about their company that you want to learn more about.
Yeah. And I think this goes into the next sort of question about preparation. How important is it prepping for a fair? And what are some ways that students can prep ahead of time?
Yeah, I would say the best way for students to prep is one, you can go on Handshake. You can look up the companies yourself. Two, you can schedule an appointment with any of the career advisors or any of the peer career advisors to go over, hey, how do I start talking to employers? What should I put on my resume? What should I change about my resume? Just having those conversations, because I think that's what makes students most nervous about career fairs in general, because you don't know what interaction to have or who to speak to or how to even dress, or is my friends going? Do I go by myself? Do I need that to be surrounded by people who understand where I'm coming from? And I don't think most students know this, but at the career fair, a lot of the recruiters who are there are actually UAlbany alums. So they're coming back to kind of play it forward, to talk to students who are just in the same situation as them. So it helps you feel more comfortable when actually talking to them because they were just in the same classes, dorm rooms you were in. I'm sorry, residence hall. I do not want res life coming after.
Oh, no, we don't want that. But I just want to also talk about dress because you, Shaun, mentioned dressing up and being one of the few in your classroom, so you sort of stuck out. But what do you think students should wear? How should they show up to a fair?
It's a great question. I mean, you want to be comfortable in what you wear. I often tell students you want to dress professional, so pick out something you're comfortable in wearing. Maybe it's khakis, a button-up shirt, a vest, or maybe a business sweater. Something that makes you feel comfortable because you want to be comfortable while you're at the fair. You don't want to be like, oh my God, I'm so nervous, I'm sweating. Mm-hmm. So I often say, go to Purple Threads. It's a great resource to go to if you're looking for maybe some accessories, a dress shirt, a pants, a tie, or even ladies who are looking for a skirt, a blouse, and stuff like that. So great resource to use. And we also have what I'm thinking about, Stuyvesant Plaza. You have Joseph A. Banks. You have, I'm trying to remember what do the Loft. Is that a place?
Loft,
yeah,
Talbot's, Black House, White Market,
yeah,
something
those,
like that.
yeah,
a couple of stores.
Because I was trying to think about where women would nice to go to find things. And, you can often, talk to your, come to our office and ask, hey, what would you normally wear to a career fair? Because I even have some students stop me and say, hey, I like what you're wearing. Where did you get that? Or, where are some suggestions I can go to? Because I remember talking to some of my mentors, and I would ask them, hey, what do I wear to, like, business events? Like, something I can afford. Let's be reasonable. I am a poor, broke college student, and I'm going to lean into that heavily. So I want students to go somewhere they can afford, because even Joseph A. Banks can be expensive, so I recommend Kohl's or even Macy's, where they have great sales for students to go to.
Okay. And Shaun, did you prepare before the fairs, or did you go in with a strategy, or were you like, I'll just show up?
I kind of a little bit of both.
Okay.
I find it where, like, if I over prepare for something, I tend to be more like worried or like anxious. So I kind of find like a blend. So I did review like the companies to see if it was worth my time, like, honestly.
Okay.
And then I was like, all right, I'll go after my class at like 9 to 12. I'll go at noon, perfect time. And so I kind of just went in there and I went with some friends and just kind of like went on my own, just so I can kind of like have my own personal, professional conversations, and just went around table to table to just like conversate and kind of see if there was something that I didn't think about that was interesting, and just having those conversations, just really go table by table by table, and just collect all those pamphlets and Tide washer things and all the different merchant cups and stuff. So
I mean, cool. that's there to attract you to the table. But let me ask you, you said you looked at the company that's going to be there. Did you do that through handshake? Was it an email that caught your attention?
It's one of them, handshake or the email. I know it was like, this is they're going to be at table 1, 2, 3, and stuff like that.
Okay, great.
So
you used the cheat sheet, you used the program. So did you feel the conversations were more organic because you knew who was going to be there and what they were hiring for and what class years they were looking for?
Not necessarily. It was more so about like trying to not like be super professional, where like overwhelming the recruiter person, but just try to have like a simple conversation and just kind of like honestly just let it flow and like
organic. That's what I mean. By that, because if the more you know about it, the more organic it could be. You don't. So for some students, like when you first go to a fair, the only fair students may have at their first year is probably a college fair. So you think you go up, you ask them a ton of questions, where in a career fair, it's like you want to know something about the company to start off the conversation. You don't want to think that you didn't do a little bit of homework before you got to the table. And like you said, you're a student, you're coming from class, you may have another class. So you looked at it ahead of time like, okay, I know I can go to these tables. These are people I want to talk to.
And some of the companies, like I kind of knew, like, it's like, oh, G Vernova, oh, this is interesting. Certain companies I just knew, like, well, let's make sure I stop by because I didn't see them here last year, or maybe I did, or I just didn't go, so yeah.
I like that. You hit the nail on the head with that. And I do say that to some students. I'll say, there are companies who will come this year, but they may not be here next year. So why not, take the opportunity to speak to them, connect, get a connection, network a little bit. So that way, if they don't come next year or even the next 2 years, at least you have a connection there. You can reach out to them on LinkedIn, send them an email and say, hey, we met at the fair and I wanted to, stay in contact and talk to you about opportunities that may come my way and tell you some of my interests. I think that's great. Thank you. Thank you for that.
So, Jermaine, what do you think gives a good first impression for recruiters? There's a lot of students. We see hundreds of students come through our career fairs. So what do you think a student can do to make themselves stand out?
I mean, there's a number of things students can do to stand out. I mean, one, how they're dressing, the attire they're wearing, how they introduce themselves. They know a fun fact about the company that interests them, that stayed in their mind. Recruiters love that because that shows you did your homework. It shows you have an interest, and you brought your A game. So they love all those different things. So you just got to choose one. I remember I was talking to a student, and they were like, "Well, what should I remember about the company?" Remember something that you can keep in your head. If it's a fun fact or something that interests you or something in their mission statement that relates to you, that helps you talk more about yourself and the company because it aligns with your values, so to speak. So I think that's a couple of things I would think about when I'm talking to a company.
Okay. And Shaun, how do you approach employer tables without it making it feel awkward?
I kind of this is very controversial, but
no, we love it.
We love it.
I don't agree on just hey, giving your whole spill.
Okay.
I think for me personally, if someone's giving me a whole spill right off the bat, I'm already okay, I'm caught off guard by it. So I tend to just say hey, I'm Shaun, nice to meet you. I'm be a candidate. Something simple, like a quick sentence, allow them to introduce themselves and kind of just let that conversation flow and just kind of stand out. Just let that conversation flow. And just really just learn more about the company, come with questions to ask, right? Are you eligible for this internship or role? Are they working in this role? What are the day-to-day looks like? Those kind of typical, quick little, I would call it try to have a quick little coffee chat with them in 10 minutes or so and kind of see where it kind of goes. And yeah, that's what I kind of do. Cause I feel when the times I've done an elevator pitch, I'm you got to know this whole 90-second spill to say and make sure it's in this exact order. I said my year before saying my name. It's you get all in your head about it for me. So I try to keep it simple and just allow the conversation to be like you said, organic and just natural.
Okay.
So you mind if I ask a question?
No. But my next question was about elevator pitches, but now I'm wondering, do I need to go there? But
I mean, I think everything you said is great because I can get how students can sound robotic because even when they say, hey, can I tell you my elevator pitch? I'm just like, wow, you really practice this really hard. I'm going to need you to be more of yourself so I can get an idea of who you are. So I actually find that very fascinating. A lot of the employers you talk to or the recruiters at the fair, do you stay in touch with a lot of them, follow up or get on their LinkedIn?
Yeah, I may apply for the role. I'm hi, it was a pleasure to meet you at the career fair. I just applied for the role. Look forward to maybe staying in touch or having a coffee chat later on down the line. And it's been pretty good.
Good.
Because I try people try to have all these. Sometimes your resume isn't always the best, so it's let me just try to be myself and save the elevator pitch for the interview because they're gonna want to know more about you. Trust me. Just give it some time and just get to see if you want to apply for this first. So it's more trying to get what you can get out of them than them getting out of you.
Oh, great. So they should have an elevator pitch, but save it for the interview. Okay, that leads into the next question.
Because the first question you always get in an interview is hey, hi, before we get going, tell me about yourself. So it's you have plenty of time to prep.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that because I do feel like the elevator pitch is somewhat of a spin on tell me about yourself. So Jermaine, for folks that don't know what an elevator pitch is, because we keep talking about it, what is it?
I mean, it's pretty much a brief 60 to 90 seconds marketing or promotion about yourself. So you want to tell them, who you are, what your interests are, why you're interested in the position or even the company. So, you take that time to actually, put your best foot forward, and sell it, selling yourself. I mean, that's the easiest way to explain it.
Yeah. And it usually encompasses your name, your year, major, and maybe some relevant experience or involvement that you have that relates to that role.
Exactly.
So, Shaun, I know we've talked sort of on our own in like my office about some of the conversations you've had at career fairs. Can you tell us about maybe one where you felt like the conversation went really well?
I think particularly like GE Vernova, because walking up to them, it was like internship summer and it was like paid housing. I was like, oh, let me check this out. Like,
I love that. That's a great one right there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was talking about them. Like I was talking to the recruiter, and I was just like, oh, like they're like, do you know who GE is? And I was like, oh yeah, you guys split up into the 4 different companies and stuff like that. And they were like, yeah, we're like now doing like they're hiring a finance and they're looking for graduate students. I was like, I'm a first year MBA candidate. This sounds great. And they told me more about the role and like the history of the company and how they have this rotational role after graduation. It's like, oh, I can get like hands-on finance experience and just really understanding the business and asking my questions and seeing also where they're from, what role they are in the business, connecting with them on LinkedIn, of course. Just honestly having sometimes like just having a conversation that's like not even related to like the company. So now we're talking about like how they started to work in finance, and how they found GE, and like it kind of like inspires you to be like, oh, maybe I want to follow that same trajectory, or maybe I want mine to be a little bit different, or I'm not pretty much sure. And what advice would they give me in my position? And it's been pretty helpful.
And you actually knew a fun fact about them, and that kind of led the conversation.
Yeah.
So that's good. I love that. That's actually great.
Didn't you and the recruiter talk about like a restaurant or something else?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because you were talking about how the recruiter was Malaysian, and I was like, oh, like I love Malaysian food, and she was like, oh, I'm actually Malaysian. I was like, no way. Have you ever been to this place in New York City? I showed it on my map because I know how to get there, but I don't know like the name.
Yeah.
And it's like right in Chinatown, like a hidden spot. And she's like, oh, I've been to that place, and I was like, no way. And I was showing like pictures of my friends and stuff eating there and like having fun and stuff like that. And she was like, oh, perfect. You should like apply and like connect. And it kind of like,
I bet that recruiter remembered you
Yes.
just from that
Yeah.
one
Exactly.
conversation.
Yeah.
And it happened organically.
Mhm.
That's excellent. I like that.
and it was being myself. I wasn't
Yeah.
like trying to like have this like certain script
I mean,
or nothing.
I think that's the best advice you can give anyone, even in an interview. Like, be yourself. Put yourself forward because you are who you are, and no one's going to change that.
Yeah, but a lot of times like people will give that advice, and I'm like, all right, I know this. And sometimes you're like, be yourself. Like, what does that look like? Like, what is it? What do you mean, be myself? Like, because there's certain parts of yourself you're like, all right,
Correct. Yeah.
is this appropriate? Is this not? Like, you're always like kind of going back and forth on it, and so that's why I try to be very like, I personally try to like wear the khakis and wear like a sweater or something of sort, and not too like businessy, so I don't like be thinking in my head like I got a suit on and everyone's looking at me in class. I'm already like anxious. I want to be very comfortable, chill, and just be able to be personable and talk to people.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, be yourself, I think, is being personable. Like even conversations in interviews, I think the best interviews are conversations. You had a conversation, you were speaking to a recruiter, and then you started talking about food. It was organic. You remember that moment, so you can talk about it as much as you want. And then the person's like, oh, wait, I can relate to it. That's the same place I went to.
Yeah.
So I think conversations like that are great, and they're memorable. And that's what you want to be, memorable.
But it's also worrisome too, because when doing a certain thing like that, it's like, is this professional for me to be talking at a career fair about me going out with my friends, getting Malaysian food back in the city? So it's like, walking away, I may be like, maybe that was not professional or something like that. You kind of like worry, like, okay, was I being myself too much?
No. I can see that, but you were just talking about food, and who doesn't love food?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
we all have to eat.
Mhm.
So I think that is professional and very much so. You know, it's no different than I actually went to culinary school, so I got to talk about food a lot when going to like culinary career fair. You know, we talked about cooking this food versus this cuisine, Italian versus German food or French food, or versus and then talking about different fusions. So I think it's professional.
Yeah.
I even had an employer stop me to talk about. I'm trying to remember. They were asking me about Finger Lakes because they were talking about going up there, and I was talking to them about, I've been, and I suggested some places to go, and me and that person still stay in contact and talk about the various things. And we were just having a brief conversation about it.
So you were talking to Shaun about his follow-up, and you do so, it sounds like, on LinkedIn, if you've applied to things, and just let the recruiter know, hey, I've applied. But for our students in general, Jermaine, how do you think they should follow up after a fair, and how long after? What's the timeline look like?
I can't say there's a exact timeline. I know if you did get in contact with the person, LinkedIn is one of the best ways to do it. If they gave you the card, you can easily send them an email and set up a informational interview with them to ask them more questions you may want to know about the company or the opportunity. But the purpose is to follow up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that way you have a contact. You can communicate with them at any time, and that way you also become memorable. And later down the line that you might see them reaching out to you like, hey, I know about this great opportunity. I think you should apply. If you have any questions, let's set up a time to meet and talk about it. And it's funny. I actually remember a few students who asked me that same question who were in Roberto Peguero's essential readiness course, and they were freshmen at the time, and two of them actually got hired to work as interns, which I thought was really fascinating. I was like, wait, how did y'all land internships as freshmen? They were saying, oh, you told us how, staying in touch with them and following them about the career fair. And I was like, oh, wow, I guess it worked for you. So
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear that you guys actually landed some for your first year. So it was good.
Okay. And is there like a sweet spot for the time frame, like
There-
email or LinkedIn after
Yeah,
48 hours?
I usually tell them, 48 hours is good. 2 days after. And I usually tell them, listen, they're not going to get back to you right away.
Yeah.
This is a career fair season. So it will take some time to get back to you because they're on the road a lot. So, if you don't hear back from them within like a week or two, send them another follow-up email. So that way, it's at the top of their email list to email you back.
Okay. And Shaun, did attending a career fair ever lead to anything for you? Whether that's an interview, an offer?
Personally, for me, it's always led me to getting some sort of internship. Since when I was a political science major to economics and now doing my MBA, I've always got something out of the career
Wow, that's great.
fair since my whole time here at UAlbany.
Why do you think
I
that
love
is?
that.
Yeah, because we do hear from students who have attended fairs that it didn't really lead to anything. So why do you think you've been so successful?
I think for me, I really have a nice resume. It's pretty.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right.
But I also think it's also because I played the long game. So I knew last year going to the career fair, I probably wasn't going to get an internship just because of my timeline graduating in May and them not knowing if I got an MBA program yet. So I kind of used my being the president of the consulting group as a leveraging tool. So I would follow up with the recruiters, but not necessarily about a job, but about connecting to get an informational session or some sort of like company consulting group project or event with the and it worked out pretty well. They would come in, PwC, EY, all these different companies would come in, and not just like giving like a informational spill, but like something that's more tangible that we can kind of walk away with. And it became like a really good leveraging tool for me to not only get an offer later down the line, but like helping others know more about these companies and also working with those companies allowed me to meet U Albany alums like go to different events, networking events in
nice.
in New York City, and just kind of like expand my network and build off that. And it wasn't with the pure intention of, hey, let me work with these companies so I can get an offer, but it was like, let's just do this because also I was president. I had things to do. I wanted to do something different. And then coming into this year, I kind of felt like I know more about myself, know more about what I wanted to do. I knew a good amount about certain firms. I kind of knew where I was at, and I was like, make sure I go to the career fair, put my best foot forward. And we've been here before, so let's hit it out of the park. And I was able to, this past fall, get 2 internship offers. So it was perfect.
Nice.
So yeah.
Nice.
Not
Good
only
job.
did Shaun get offers, but he actually negotiated the offer for an internship, which most people are not even negotiating salaries for full-time jobs. And you are out here negotiating for internships, which I think is great too. So I wanted to just put that in there.
Oh wow! So you mentioned you are a part of a consulting firm on campus. Is it a student group?
Yeah, student. It was it's a student group, U Albany Consulting Group.
Oh, nice. Okay, how many people are a part of it? Can anyone join up at any class time?
Yeah,
year?
anyone can join. Yeah, I was the former president now. Chris is the president now. It's kind of like been trying to like get it more known and get out there, but it's definitely growing as the years go on. But it was a great tool for me to really learn about what consulting is and my actual career paths that I wanted to do.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Okay.
So, what made you negotiate your salary? Actually, since Jessica brought it up, what made you think, hey, I should actually negotiate a little bit?
Well, one, you know how they have those like job roles, and they're like, all right, this is the salary, like 20. Let's say it's $25 to $31 an hour, right? And then these companies are very cheap. They like to always give you the minimum, like the $20, the 25, and I'm like, what's that? 25 to 31. So you already want me. I already want you. Let's try to see if I can get the extra little bucks. And sometimes in the past, there was like, oh, this is what we have for the time, and this is what it is. And sometimes I've requested and, align it with my resume as well. And they're like, well, okay, we can't give you the 31. We'll give you there'll be a reasonable, and then they'll sometimes be able to accommodate and do it. It doesn't hurt to ask, because there's been times where I worked for the MTA and I asked for the increase and they said no. And I was like, okay, cool, that's totally fine, and accepted the offer. Like, there's no harm in just saying and just asking.
I like that. It does not hurt to ask. You heard it from Shaun himself. It doesn't hurt to ask.
No, that's great.
The
All
worst
right.
they can say is no.
Okay, we're going to wrap up. I just have one last question for you both. And Jermaine, this question is really around students who get anxious or feel overwhelmed and don't think career fairs are for them. Like, what would you say to those students?
We all get anxious at times. Networking, it makes everyone anxious. You got to talk to another person. But I think if I had to figure out the real reason why we get so anxious, is because we tend to think the people behind the tables are not human. And they are. I remember being a student, and I used to think like a lot of the people who were my supervisors weren't human. Like, in my mind, they were robots. And after a while, getting to know the person, I'll use one of my supervisors, for example, Lori Garafola. She was the head of residential life for a very long time. She was a mentor to me, and I remember talking about watching a show called House, and she was like, "Oh, I love that show," and I was like, "Wait, you watch House? Hold on, wait, why do you watch House?" And she was telling me to watch it, and we watched it for the same reason. It's like, "Oh my God, you're human. I never thought you were human," and I was just like, "Huh, that's interesting." And and even my staff, when I used to supervise RAs, they were like, "Jermaine, I didn't know you were human." And I was just like, "Oh wow, we all think like that." So at the end of the day, we are all human. So we can actually just have that organic conversation. There's no need to be nervous. They already know you're nervous. Go up to the table, have a conversation. That's all you really need to do at the end of it.
Okay.
And also remember, career and professional development, we're also at the career fair. So if you need to talk to us, we're there to help you as well. So you just want to have a quick chat, Jessica, myself, Vincia, Rob, Noah, Sarah, all of us, we're there for you. Okay.
Yes. And Shaun, what advice would you give someone who was attending their first fair?
Ooh, this is a good one. I would definitely say just book an appointment with the career services. Like, let someone take a look at your resume. Just that's a great start. And then I would say try to find try to be comfortable with being anxious and uncomfortable. Like, because we're human, we're gonna feel like emotions, and just like even still to this day, like I'm always, you have to just be comfortable and know that like eventually it's gonna calm down. It's kind of like when you give like a big public speak and you walk up and like you see in the big crowd, you're like, you get nervous, and it comes to a point where as you speak and talk to the person and they respond to you, you'll have moments to just breathe and calm down. So my total advice would just be prepare, right? 'Cause sometimes when I'm anxious or nervous is because I didn't properly prepare. And so there's a question that someone's asking me and I'm like, oh, snap. So just prepare properly, just be yourself, like we kind of said, and just be comfortable. If you're really anxious, just again, try to just have those questions piece by piece. You don't got to throw everything out there at the recruiter and see what sticks and hand them your resume, but just kind of just take your time and just trust that even if the conversation or the intern or the company doesn't pick you, it's just many other opportunities. There's many ways for you to find things that is perfectly for you. So my whole philosophy is like, if something doesn't happen for me, it's because something's better coming next along the way.
Yeah, I would just like to say that is a great point, and I do want to give a shout out to Jessica because she did do a program where we took students around to different tables, and after they talked to one recruiter for a few minutes and they saw how they are human, they were like, "Oh my God, this is much easier than I thought it would be." Like I'm more comfortable. They're like, "You guys can just let me go I can go be myself. I'm totally good. I know what I'm doing now." So stuff like that does make sense. And thank you for saying that.
Yeah, and our office tries to do preparation events before the fair, so you can always check those out on Handshake and just come through. You don't even need to register. The only other thing I want to add is that during our industry-focused career fairs, we also have professional headshots. So that's another reason to dress to impress, because you can then put that photo on LinkedIn and you'll have a professional headshot. So that was a lot, but a lot of really good information. Thank you so much, Shaun. You've found success at our career fairs, and you've had a good story, and you gave good advice. And Jermaine, you've been doing these career fairs, and you do a wonderful job, and they always go smoothly. So I just want to say thank you for being on and imparting all of your wisdom. I appreciate it.